Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're going to be making the sound. And we're going to be doing it with Sytrus. So let's just dive right into it. So Sytrus, first thing, the sound we're going to be making, you've already heard it. I haven't heard it yet. It's just a thing in my head right now. I know I want to do something with saw waves. I mean, not saw waves, sine waves. Something like that. I don't know. Let's set this up to be a faster tune, something like 154 perhaps. Choose our tempo first. We've got a sine wave already. And the notion is we're going to add verb to the sine wave, very short, sort of pump it up, and then maybe come up with cool ways to vary it, probably with a unison. That's going to be sort of the core way the sound works. Everything after that will sort of just be extra bonus stuff. I find it very helpful, though, if we write a melody first. I don't want to spend too much time on the melody, so hopefully I can come up with something pretty good, pretty quick. Kind of works as a loop. I'm not really aiming to make a loop, just I don't know, let's hear it all. Sure, whatever. We're going to work for this for now. This is the thing we're working with. Now, to start off, I want to add portamento. Sytrus has a portamento control here, but all FL controls or plugins, synths, whatever. If you go into the wrench icon, there's a polyphony with a portamento here. I'm just going to use this. It's just a little bit simpler in this case. I'm also going to make it mono. Okay, so with that, let's go for the verb. Now, we're going to be using I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, Lux Verb. It's new. I have not used it very much, but it's very intuitive. I'm just going to bring the reverb way down. The reason I'm going to use this over the verb in Sytrus is mainly because of this. If you have the decay control here, this is under the effects tab. If you move this, it goes down to 0.1, but if you barely move it, we're already over like a full second. And look at how little that is. So the movement of this control is just a little bit annoying to work with. So we're going to be using this. Plus, the algorithm with this. This is exciting. It's the new thing. I want to use it and get familiar with it. So that's what we're using. The size is a control that has impressed me a lot in the few times I have used it. So we're going to bring the diffusion up. Character doesn't do too much in this case. We'll bring the size up and the brightness up. Now, what we might do is on this here sine wave, we're going to use operator 1 as our main operator. Let's go ahead, let's add a plugin. And so I'm on the volume tab under envelope and I've turned it on. So now we have a pluck. I'm going to go ahead and set it out like here. In fact, let's tempo sync it just because that'll make it easier, and turn on the snap setting in order to sort of snap it right into place. So we know that we're always going to be about an eighth note. And then there's this little reverb tail. I'm going to get rid of that. So it's only while the note's being held. Anything after that is going to be dealt with by verb tail stuff. So we're not going to have a release phase really. And we can adjust the sustain of the sound by just automating this, since this point is by default labeled as a sustain point. If you don't have this, you should if you haven't touched it. But say you deleted it, you can just label a point sustain loop end, and it'll connect that up for you. Okay, so let's first bring in the sustain, get things one at a time. So I'm going to automate the sustain here. And on some of the notes, like these longer notes, I want the sustain to be longer. So we will pump this up here and then maybe bring it back down over time. Maybe. Yeah, I think it has to be on just slightly before it. Let's mess with the mono, let's just make it not mono, and let's just see how that works out. Okay, and then with this, oops, I wanted these to be bigger. I If you hold Alt and push while holding Control on the mouse wheel, you can change the size of everything. That's what happened. Let's go ahead. Let's just try out some different variations on how long everything is. Seems like the very high values are going to be like the most noticeable ones. And then here, we'll bring these up. Now, it's a setting that reads, I believe, just when the note hits. So I don't think this automation, like having a swell, won't do anything. Because it reads the value of the sustain when this note is read. That's how I think it works. So I'm not going to worry too much about like middle stuff. We're going to have to do that with effects that are continuously read, something like maybe a unison pitch difference. Sure, whatever. We'll fade out at the end. So okay, so this takes care of our different lengths here. Do we want to try? Let's maybe look at a bit more of the octave. Let's leave it high and instead use FM. So I'm gonna bring operator 2 in an octave lower and modulate it just a smidge. In fact, let's bring it in like really low. I don't know. This will make it more of a bass sound though. That's kind of a cool growl. Now, what I want to do is not have this on all the time. I want it to follow the note and maybe embed it as like part of the articulation. So to do that, I am going to go to the volume and envelope. And again, just turn this on, make sure it's tempo synced and snapped. And the only rule we really have is if we want the sine wave to win out in the end, we need it to be shorter than this envelope. So we have half of a beat or whatever this lineup is before this line to do it. So we have a couple options. The first one is, why don't we just turn it down at the same rate? We could have it turn off faster. And something that could be kind of interesting is to invert this. So this starts off low and we go high. I think this is kind of the most interesting one, and we could choose some different shapes, maybe see if we get something better. And it's going to be the most noticeable on these long notes, so let's just audition those. Yeah, I kind of like that. And okay, so with this, let's go ahead and begin to take a look at some of the expressive stuff, maybe work out the volume a bit, and then start to look at some of the compressor down the line after that verb. So first off, let's try a high order of unison. And for the pitch difference, let's automate this. Let's bring the panning down. So on these longer notes, I want the pitch to move with these. So I'm going to automate this. And let's just make this the automation clip for like the whole thing. So it's going to be at a certain level, but right here, I want these to swell up like so. Maybe in the middle. That could be kind of cool. Do one over here. Now this is going to have a rhythmic effect that we need to be aware of. So maybe we have these swell up. Have this build up right here at the end. Okay, I like this. Let's keep going. So right now it's just a very basic small sound. Let's maybe start to see if we can't make it feel a little more full. So we have this very short verb. The output, we've got dry wet. Let's bring the wet up mostly and make this a mostly reverbed out sound and keep the verb really short. So this will make it still sound mostly together. Bring in the the dry just as a support. Change the size up, maybe the diffusion. This just keeps the sound from being so spread out. So it makes the verb just stand on its own a little bit. This is something you typically, I guess you don't normally want to do this. Just checking out the octave options. Okay, so with this all set up, let's go ahead, come in, and afterwards, two ways we could do things. One involves a little more distortion. So the first technique is to grab a wave shaper and sort of just gently pull up on this. And this is going to yank some of that verb up. And we could try and isolate the verb mostly by doing this. So this will pull up the softer stuff in the sound, which will, but this is 100% verb. So it'll just sort of yank that decay style stuff up at the very tail end. That's kind of interesting. And we could go for an OTT just as a really quick. And before we go further, let's experiment a little bit with the FM. Whoa. Let's really quick bring the min up so we can hear it just without the automation. The unison pitch difference has a totally new meaning when this moves around. Let's bring this up. Or is it just... Oh, it's not this. What it is it's the longer notes get the envelope that's been reversed. Let's bring this in. Okay. While we're here, I want to take the wave shaper off real quick. Let's take this up to half an octave. Could be interesting. Let's just go one octave. Yeah, this is going to make a bigger difference with this higher stuff. So maybe I'll opt in for a higher one with a more aggressive setting. Bring the wave shaper back in. All right, let's use the wave shaper. I'm not vibing that. On the verb. I think that's actually pretty cool. What we need is where's a spot with a longer? I want to write another melody. Another melody with, I feel like we have our sound. We just need a sweet melody to go with it. Let's see if we can't come up with something a little cooler. Maybe something that relies on like eighth note movements through a thing. Okay, so that's like phrase one. And then we want this at double time. I wrote it halfway out because that's just how it occurred to me the first time. Okay, let's work on the slide time a bit. Also bring mono back. Let's bring this in. Let's look at this. Are these both set to, yeah, so these will be active. Now for the pitch unison for this, I want these to be big, sort of get crazier, and then have this start out small here and then swell on the movements up, like so. Bring the pluck up. We don't want it to be as plucky anymore. Do 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 do. Maybe something like that. Whatever. We'll repeat the same and just go down the second time. Oh yeah, this has got a lot more potential. Let's make this. I'm debating if we want the this envelope now. Just looking at adjusting this length, I think we want to just use this as a texture control instead of using an envelope. If we bring this down to something small like 4. I quite like that. I feel like there's a lot of options just changing that from high to low. If we bring the dry out even more and bring the size down. That actually could be a cool transition if we have this start out here and over time this like opens up. So if we were to automate this and have the dry sound sort of take over. I feel like we could pump this harder. Okay, so I'm gonna make a really extreme filter here. Okay, so this extreme filter is going to do 3 things simultaneously. The 6 is going to move down to meet up with this one. So let's figure out the exact automation points necessary for that. So it's going to start where it's at, and it's going to end at this other one. Oh, wow, like right there. Perfect. And then I said 3 things, but I think it might actually only be 2, because originally I was going to move this, but we're just going to move this down. Oh, no. We're going to move this down as well, just slowly over time. So this is going to lower. And while this is all going on, the EQ is also going to just straight up fade out. So we start off with this like extreme filter, and then it just sort of goes away so that it acts as like, just an intro thing. So if we put it all together. Now it is very loud. Now let's see if we can bring in just another voice. So right now this is a sine wave. So let's leave that layer in. Let's bring in layer 3 as a separate output. We'll bring in 4 as well. So I'd like to have these sort of at different levels. I don't know. We'll bring this down, bring that down. Let's try out with more voices as lower unison. Yeah, higher unison is going to be necessary for this. 2 is not going to work. Let's bring these in also with their own volume automations. We're going to delete this and this. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and maybe toss in some drums real quick. Let's see, just a basic 4 to the floor, right? That's always a good test. Oh, you know what? We've got some 808. Do we want 808s? No, we don't want 808s. Just give me a good. Sure, why not? Just give me a good old classic kick. We'll put this 4 to the floor. And then on this over here, let's go ahead and make these unique and see if we can't come up with a more interesting variation for when it's just open. We're going to sort of match rhythm here. It kind of works well with this. There's other ways of doing this, but I find just automating it will give you just exact, if you want something exact, this is going to do it the first time. And here's where a swell actually might be an interesting decision. And then on this one, we might make this unique since now we're like, out of the main drop. not drop, I mean, but we're out of the intro. And we might go like... maybe a bend up. I think bringing these down too will really sell the transition. I think everything down, just everything down. It needs it. These are slide notes, by the way. I didn't explain this. So if you click the little corner up here, it'll slide to this note over time. So this is much quicker, so it sounds like an actual note change. I had another idea for this, just to make it more interesting. I think long is good. Long is good there. Maybe keeping it, maybe I'm making it too complicated. Maybe just leave it alone. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. At this point, I'm beginning to leave the realm of sound design, and I'm just starting to write a tune, which is usually a good sign because it means you've gotten to a sound you're happy with, and it's inspiring enough to work with. But anyways, yes. So that's our patch. So as you can see, hopefully all the decision making is really clear. All the MIDI writing was really clear. You saw how the effects were used. Not too many effects, really just being kind of clever with this. Went through one or two, rather big, like going back and changing something dramatic. That tends to happen. It's what you got to do if you want to get a cool sound. But anyways, here's our final sound. Still things we could definitely do. I think reverbing this out, and I think I could make this a lot brighter and more aggressive. But the general idea is there. This part is a lot closer to something that's like, oh yeah, I would definitely use this. It definitely would work as a layer. If not, we could build it out to be a full main sound, especially if we focused a bit more on how we did some multiband compression on it. It could really make it shine. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos. And have a blessed day.